Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're located in the world. I'm Viet Nguyen, and I'm the president of 5G Americas. And it's a pleasure to welcome you here for this panel, Scaling Telco AI Sustainably with Infrastructure, Automation, and Energy Impact. As telecom operators increasingly integrate AI from automation at the edge to generative workloads in the core, we're also facing a parallel challenge: how to create and grow smarter while staying greener. Today's conversation is going to dig into exactly that tension between compute and carbon, automation and orchestration, intelligence and impact. So let's begin with some brief introductions. Panelists, please take about a minute each to introduce yourselves, your role, and a quick note on what excites you about AI and in telco. Maybe we'll start first with Ravi.
Hi, everyone. Happy to be here. Let me introduce myself. My name is Ravi Sinha, and I work for Reliance Geo, and I work as Vice President Technology Development. I also wear another hat for open source initiatives. One of it is Oran Alliance, where I'm one of the chairmen of Next Generation Research Group, which is a 6G initiative for the last 3 years. We are working in this area and have produced close to 16 plus research reports and white papers mixed. Along with that, I also represent a small cell forum and Enterprise Neurosystem. Enterprise Neurosystem works for Federated Artificial Intelligence as well. All of them are open sources. And definitely, this is an exciting time for artificial intelligence. And we all, from the telco verticals, also very much excited how to well adopt it. And hopefully, we'll have a great discussion over here. Thank you.
Very good. And over to Olli.
Good morning. So my name is Olli Andersson. I'm a CTO from Telecom Infra project called TIP. We are an industry association working to advance telecommunications. And we do that through our working groups that work on community-based development of different technological areas. And we also provide a training and education platform called TIP Academy for workforce upskilling. AI is very relevant to us and to our community, and it goes across all of our working groups, including Open RAN, Open Wi-Fi groups, our optical and transport technologies. And we also launched a new Telco AI group last year to bring more dedicated focus to operator AI strategies and their implementation. So happy to be here.
Thank you, Olli. And Johannes?
Yeah, thank you, Viet. I'm Johannes Bjelland, Program Director of the program called Intelligent Networks in Telenor Research and Innovation, which is part of the group CTO office. I started my telco career 15 years ago, making my first neural network to predict customer behavior and churn. So back then, we were kind of small analyst group. Nobody understood what we were doing. But of course, AI and neural networks is something everyone is talking about now. And it's part of the Telenor Group strategy to embed AI into all processes or look into how we use AI to improve the business. So specifically in research and innovation, we have several initiatives on how to use AI, but our role is kind of forward-looking. We work with our business units, with partners and vendors to help businesses develop proof of concepts. We demonstrate the potential of the technologies, and we also follow it all the way out in the market. So for me, the focus is AI applied to networks, making our networks smarter, of course. We look into open network technologies like Open RAN, and also maybe also very importantly, how can we create new business on top of the kind of the modern networks that we have today.
Very good. Thank you, Johannes. And then Luca, thanks for joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your organization.
Okay. Hello, everybody, and thank you, Viet. So my name is Luca Brocca, and I'm a business development manager for the IPCEI Tiscali Villanova project. So I briefly explain what the IPCEI Cloud project is about. It means important project of common European interest. It's a key European initiative that supports innovation in cloud and edge technologies with the goal of enabling Europe's digital and green transition. It focuses on creating secure, energy efficient, and interoperable cloud-to-edge infrastructure based on values like data sovereignty and openness. It's a huge, milestone for Europe's digital sovereignty, reinforcing the need for a strong, independent, and secure cloud ecosystem. It will establish de facto standard driven by all European large providers to build uniform access and control of data by those that will adopt it for sure. So with over 1.2 billion euro in public fund and 19 core companies across Europe involved, the project aims to strengthen Europe's independence from global cloud giants and create new opportunities for innovation. Villanova, the company where I work, is one of the projects part of the IPCEI. It's led by Tiscali and by Expert AI. Together, we are building a modular federated platform for generative AI and data services, which is based on a combination composable AI agent designed to run across both cloud and edge environments. It's for sure open, built for European languages, and support public institutions, small, medium, and large enterprises. Okay.
Thank you, Luca. And of course, I'm Viet Nguyen, and I'm president of 5G Americas. We're an industry association comprised of operators and network equipment vendors who support the growth and development of wireless cellular technologies like 5G, 6G, and beyond. So a great panel. So thank you all for this. This is very exciting to have a panel of this high caliber. And so I'd like to go ahead and start off with a few questions for you, and then maybe at the end leave a few minutes for some questions from the audience. So maybe let's start with this question about generative AI. You know, we're seeing an explosion of generative AI interest across virtually every industry. And let's talk a little bit about how this is landing in telco for you, especially from an infrastructure and energy lens. So, Ravi, do you want to start us off with this one?
Sure. And tell you the fact, like generative AI, at least the way I'm seeing in the last, I will say 2 years, things really exploded. The way the entire IT industry is adopting, I feel that telco is also not behind. Most of the greatness coming from IT industry is also equally adopted. But the challenge, what I personally see is that the telco networks are very distributed infrastructure. They are not very centralized kind of one. So in that case where you have your central data center to regional data center to your regional edge, then you have a metro edge, and then you have your telco edge, and then even further nowadays going to the customer premise edge. And at the end, it is also a device edge. So many variations and so much of distribution. Definitely artificial intelligence, the way it is adopted with IT cannot be just simply done. And the second piece is power consumption and the limited compute capacities as well. And in those cases, definitely artificial intelligence-based generative AI needs a little bit of retuning to make it a perfect fit for us. And since the topic is also equally attached with how we can also save energy as well. So of course, the situation is a little tricky over here. I can tell you that when telco started its journey towards the automation, of course, the major focus was from artificial intelligence to machine learning, and then taking some of the use cases coming out of SON. But of course, like the world has come much forward, reaching up to the mid of 2025, where we are seeing it is not only the centralized data center which will be integrated and implemented with artificial intelligence for telco, but it also needs to come up to the telco edge level. And when we are talking about it, like when we talk about generative AI, that means you are enabling every building block of yours, at least up to the neural network capabilities. And when you talk about neural network capabilities, you're talking about high performance compute, because there is a lot of parallel processing going on. So maintaining a balance in terms of a cost, maintaining a balance in terms of the real-time decision-taking point, and then the challenges it brings with the high power consumption. I think maintaining a balance in all these 3 points is going to be the hot topic for the industry to kind of process. And I personally feel that nowadays, more and more kind of distributed compute-oriented agentic communication, more you can say model context protocol gateway implementations. These 2-3 things are, and of course, like heavily distributed architecture, especially in case of IoT and massive machine type communication. These 3-4 things will ultimately set the stage for telcos, and you will see a lot of innovations coming out of it, which we'll be discussing in coming few minutes.
Very good. That's very, very comprehensive. You know, sort of staying on the, and this is from the an operator perspective. From Johannes, maybe do you have some thoughts on how you guys have approached generative AI?
Yeah, first of all, I maybe want to say that I mean, we have the AI hype now, and a bit similar to a few years back when we have this big data hype, when we start to realize the data has value. It kind of helped us. All that attention was driving investments and made the big telcos put it on the agenda. So I think it's the same now. With all the general interest in this, we have that extra drive instead of a small group, like I said 15 years ago, trying to convince top management and invest in data systems. So that is helping. And of course, after the hype, we also will need to see some benefits coming out of it. But it's a good example, the project we run now with Ericsson on energy saving, which is one of the obvious tasks for AI to solve. It's actually proving its value. So it's definitely impacting the strategy, and everybody realize that this is something you need to put effort on. And specifically in infrastructure here in Telenor, we have established an AI factory where we're actually creating a kind of a business out of offering compute as a service. So also on the same GPUs, we are exploring on running RAN optimization cases, but also going into the business of selling GPU compute. So that's exciting kind of opportunities as well.
Excellent. Olli, how do you see this landing over at TIP? How does generative AI working for your organization, or maybe what your organization sees?
Yeah, so I see different operator strategies across the world, and you know how generative AI is really impacting them. So we do have operators that are, for example, building you know, large data centers on offering enterprise services, and also more of a AI infrastructure as a service in certain countries, and they are mostly driven by the data sovereignty needs of that, you know, local region, and you know, making a operator potentially a good service provider, you know, for their enterprise customers that they might have contracted their cloud services, for example, early on, and critical communications infra as well. And then, you know, we do have other operators that are more focused on generative AI and AI impacts their their network operations and their future network design, and also all of these in combination, also at some level. So it slightly varies, what country region you're talking about. Is there strong data sovereignty needs? And then what type of an operator you have in question. So we have very advanced operators implementing AI all across their networks, and we also have telecom operators that are maybe in the beginning of their journey and starting to learn what they should do and what their strategy should be.
So it seems like it's a very different approach, really needing to be tailored to the specific cases that the operators may have in their case. Luca, tell us a little bit about how your organizations are approaching generative AI.
Okay, let me say generative AI is a game changer for telcos, not just for customer experience or automation, but also in terms of infrastructure design. This shift from classic automation to Gen AI workloads introduce very different compute, storage, and latency requirements. So part of the Villanova strategy within the IPCEI Cloud Initiative is to support this shift through a federated cloud edge continuum. So for sure, this allows to have small edge nodes versus big data centers, plus Gen AI inference tasks closer to the users at the edge. So this allows to improving latency and reducing bandwidth usage. Keep sensitive data local, and this is aligned with the European sovereignty goals, and also have a small cloud cluster powered by renewable energy. So you say Gen AI is not just a use case, but it's a strategy to reshape the infrastructure. And without a continuum between cloud and edge, it became unsustainable at scale.
Very good, very good. Definitely, I think panelists have already, I think you touched on some of the challenges already in terms of how you scale out AI. So let's keep talking about that. What are some of the biggest challenges you're seeing when it comes to scaling AI for sustainability, right? Especially, when it comes to balancing energy and emissions and compute needs. So you mentioned a little bit. I mean, the cloud is different than the edge. The requirements are different, particularly at the edge where you actually have limited compute and potentially limited connectivity. Ravi, you started talking about some of these challenges. Do you want to talk a little bit more about what you see here in terms of these deployments?
Sure. If you think about it, the better user experience is inversely proportional to the cost. So definitely, when we go from north to south, as far as you are very much centralized at a kind of AI operations, definitely the cost can be managed. But then again, that is not about tapping 100% for the AI, because that piece was also there in terms of dashboarding and lots of automations as well. When you start coming from north to south, and if you wanted to have a real-time experience where every and any user experience is properly supported from the service vertical to the infrastructure vertical, going all up to the telco edge level, you need to take decision, you need to do fine tuning, you need to do a lot of predictive analysis, you need to take care of a lot of real-time performances. For all those things, you need to bring these neural network processing capabilities all up to the telco as minimum. It may even go up to the customer premise equipment. When you do that, of course, it comes with a lot of cost engaged because of the high performance compute platform you are bringing. So like in a normal condition, just take an example, if I'm throwing like the local server blade, which is $5,000. Once you are going for neural network processing or HPC, definitely many folds. In terms of energy consumption, it goes many folds. But we also need to spread and calculate the kind of value add it gives you. And then you, based on that, if you calculate, definitely the overall experience versus the cost won't be that much high. But I still feel that when you're going for the real-time predictive analysis and all, you have to go up to the stack level, not only up to the management plane, because we have 3 planes: control plane, user plane, and management plane. At present, all what we are doing, most of them is up to the management plane. User plane and control plane, and the real data monetization, especially all up to the federated AI or even cross-domain artificial intelligence, you need to take care of the cross-functionality checks for all the data payloads you are generating from the RAN, core, transport, all those things. So if you cross-communicate and orchestrate at a single platform with a kind of generative AI capabilities together, in that way, you can reduce a lot of cost. If those different subdomain functions can run at the same place, and some of the processing is being done locally rather than taking the data all to the centralized servers, and a lightweight, and along with that, I will also come to the hardware. You simply cannot only rely on GPUs. You also have to give a chance to the new concepts coming called LPU or NPU. Those are the lightweight ones, which can very accurately do their job with all the intelligence you're looking for. And I'll also say that the usage of lightweight modules like SLMs or small language models rather than large language models. Large language models only used for you can say data filtering or filtered or the data distillation forms, where the you can say some of the very trained data you are pushing from LLMs, but major fine tuning and everything is done by the SLMs. And this SLM ecosystem is shared by hundreds and thousands of agents. So in that way, you can also save a lot of energy and a lot of value you can add and reduce the cost as well. So these are some of them, and I hope that in a year time frame, this whole like model context protocol, you can say gateway, they will play a big role because they control the entire environment and they shorten the domain where, like, reliably and with security, all security challenges in control, you can do lots of things. So that's how I'm seeing, and I'm sure that there'll be many more to come.
That's wonderful. I love how you know your mind is working on this. We've already identified challenges and moved to solutions already. Johannes, how about your thoughts in terms of how Telenor maybe you know what challenges are you sort of seeing in terms of scaling?
Yeah, very concretely, technically, we have I mean, we have operations in several countries. We have multi-vendor networks. So the scaling, technically, from going from the working AI system in one operation, maybe working on one vendor, and then scaling it across the business, that's really hard. Because now we spend so much time setting up an AI agent and make it work, make the data streams work. And that the time it takes to get that up and running, it needs to be reduced. So also once you have the AI model, you need to monitor it, maintain it. And we don't really have those systems in place. I mean, if you use Azure as a cloud, Google or whatever, everything is different. So getting kind of standardized and getting those platforms, or what you like to call it, in place, that's, I think it's a must before we really can see efficient scaling. And another thing that I'm realizing now, it's that we are very lucky. I mean, to make AI, you need the data, and to make AI agents, you need a network to interact with. It's very few. I mean, we are lucky to have access to that, but to really drive innovation, I think we also should try to enable other, maybe smaller companies, startups, etc., to get access, to find ways to actually can tap in that innovation potential. But that's very hard nowadays for a small startup to get the hands on telco data to be allowed to actually try out the network. So finding some way to enable that, maybe via digital twins could be an option. I think that's also very critical.
So the standardization of data and cleaning up the data to make sure that it can be accessed both within the network and for the ecosystem surrounding that network as well. And that's important. Olli, any thoughts from Tip here in regards to the scaling challenges that you're seeing from operators?
Yeah, I agree both with Ravi and Johannes. So we do need more efficient compute, and we need smaller models also to take into consideration the distributed nature of many of the operators' networks. And we need to work on the interoperability piece, also at the software and stack level. So at TIP, we have been kind of focusing on, our community has been focusing on defining different blueprints for different scenarios and use cases. Basically, exactly this in mind. So to provide a kind of a reference architecture and building blocks for different operator scenarios that you can take a block from here and maybe a this type of a compute and kind of build your deployment architecture based on that one. So really the interoperability of these different pieces and is a key issue for scaling, and naturally we need to work on the individual pieces to make all the components more efficient over time. But we can already start now on building good AI systems.
Yeah, and definitely some work already being done with Kamara and Aduna and some of the other organizations out there in regards to sort of the standardized APIs that maybe help to make that available. Luca, any thoughts from your end in terms of the challenges that maybe you've faced in terms of scaling?
Yeah. So okay, many things have been already said in the previous. So what I think is that the challenge is not just scaling AI, but it's scaling smartly without causing an energy or emission spike.
Yeah.
So the solution is again an initiative like the IPCEI with its pillars of the distributed infrastructure with little edge nodes and not, let's say, big energy-hungry data centers. Say that what we can see is a need for intelligent orchestration, moving workloads dynamically across the cloud edge continuum, localized compute, keeping AI tasks near where data is generated. So we are doing this with a modular infrastructure that gives operators detailed control over deployment location, energy profiles, and data governance. That flexibility is essential for sustainable scaling.
Excellent. I want to go back to Ravi. You made several great points in your last response there in regards to some of the solutions. You talked a little bit about the NPUs, the TPUs, and then the small language models that are out there to help address the sustainability issue. But in terms of how well do you think these are going to be able to be integrated with existing telco control systems? Because we're still seeing major gaps in real-time data pipelines, APIs, and relying on other types of things like in the sort of the RIC type interfaces. So, how do you sort of go about addressing the integration piece of it?
So again, this is a great question, Viet, and I can tell you that recently, I think you have heard and you have seen, some of you must have also kind of participated 3GPP and Oran Alliance workshop on artificial intelligence. So we are trying to figure out our own assets, who is really great and what and how, like the two sides can complement with each other. I will also say that in spite of all the greatness coming from all the big SDOs, there is always a huge delta is still kind of there for the industry to deploy a flexi platform for telco, or not only telco or any other vertical, or recycling of the same platform everywhere. I think that is a challenge. Even think about it. If there are 2-3 different models, whether one is like LLMs, another one is SLMs, when you are querying a common query to coordinated ones, a separate set of APIs, and all those challenges are there, right? So I think compliance of generative AI to all the standardization body is going to be a big challenge. And I think the standardization body, they really understand the need of it, and they are doing their level best to answer or to come forward with some compliances. Also, think about it like agentic communications, when thousands of agents are talking with each other. Some of them have a common SLM, that's fantastic, but when you are crossing that range, and then one agent is talking to another agent, which is a part of a separate SLM or separate LLM, in that case, how exactly these two can talk in terms of performance, in terms of API compliance, in terms of security, in terms of control, in terms of configuration, CI/CD, many other challenges are there. So some of the initiatives are like NLIP by Enterprise Neuro System, IEEE, and there are multiple others who are working in this area to bring a very interoperable set of, you can say, a model context protocol gateways, which will comply in terms of performance, security, control, management, CI/CD, and every form. So you will see this is going to take time, but I have information that at the end of the year, some of those compliances, the very first versions will be in place. So companies who are interested to build their own generative AI platform for telcos, they will have the flexibility to honor or follow or comply with the recommendations and make things working with each other. And hopefully, Oren Alliance will be one of the biggest, you can say, platforms to enable the solutions coming out of it. Whereas 3GPP, as the owner of a standardization, will do their due diligence and do their job from that side. But I think someone like Olli Andersson's group for TIP, and they are doing a great job in terms of how to build a cost-effective solution, and solution framework is the biggest nowadays in the world. So of course, I think all the operators, including Geo and all the big ones, and of course, all the big ones, they have the design house as well. So they are always looking for an open source based framework. And if a TIP or an alliance, 3GPP, and other coordinated bodies, and of course 5G America, if they all can join hands and bring something which is doable and cost effective, can be the solution for the world, for telco, at least.
Great, thank you. We've got a few minutes left, so I want to make sure we get through these questions. This for Olli. How would you sort of address the integration piece of it here? I think Ravi mentioned there's some discussion that you had with the operators there and how they were integrating these.
Yeah, so it is it is getting better. Like if I compare the industry a few years back or 5-10 years back, we do see much more programmability in general at the network, so which is a good thing. But for energy savings or sustainability, we now have a benefit of a SMO rig layer, which brings more open architecture and open interfaces for different AI native applications as well for the RAN. So that's good thing. We need to work more on making the interfaces more mature. So R1 interface, for example. There's some work to be left with the Oren Alliance and TIP and other forums to make it better, but the direction is good, and we need some dedicated focus now on building these new applications for sustainability that actually work and are making impacts all across the world. So We don't want to repeat. And I'm speaking, I guess, on behalf of many. So we don't want to repeat the former Sony experience, where you had a lot of, vendor proprietary applications and algorithms in place for network. So we want to open that up and make sure that we have interoperability and portability across the apps, and we get some efficiencies on the development side, as well as on the support, maintenance, and scale for the vendors involved as well.
Yeah, definitely does seem a little bit still a little bit early days in terms of the standardization work for the sustainability side for when it regarding AI. Johannes, you talked a little bit earlier, when we started talking about scaling, right? We mentioned some of the challenges there, but have you guys started to integrate some of these AI systems into your network, and what have you sort of seen there in regards to the integration process?
Yeah, it's a bit similar to the previous answer, that I mean the majority of the standards, also like Ravi and Olli is talking about, we are not seeing that on the ground with the network today. So we spend way too much time on the integration and cleaning data, and that's most of the AI practitioners I'm talking to, they are doing the same. So I feel still quite a long way to go. But very hopeful to technologies like the RIC and the SMO. If we can have that, if we can see full scale adoption of this system, then we are really moving forward. Another point I'm seeing that we in the future, I mean, the AI is rather complicated software, it's complex software systems. So also for the organization to learn how to work in that way, and to be more a software organization compared to like we have today, that is also, I think, very important. And also when we on the ground want to hand over control to AI systems, often we meet some resistance with engineers that are not used to. They used to understand everything, and AI is sort of a black box that you sometimes can't really explain. So there's also some cultural side of this, and training and all of that factor. I think it's very important to address.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's some big challenges there. Luca, I want to see if you have give you an opportunity to answer this question before we take one of the questions from the audience.
Yes, generative, as I said before, generative AI is already reshaping the telco strategy. The demand for compute, storage, and energy efficient infrastructure is growing rapidly. Telcos are evolving from pure connectivity providers to AI enablers. This requires moving towards modular AI-ready architectures across the cloud edge continuum, allowing operators to run workloads where it makes the most sense, close to users to save bandwidth, latency, and energy. A key trend is the rise of composable application, the agentic AI, flexible agentic AI that can be combined dynamically depending on the use case. This enables telcos to deploy scalable and efficient services while optimizing infrastructure usage, including support for RIS interfaces where it will be applicable.
Great. And we have just enough time for one question here. So what's the single biggest technical hurdle? So real lightning answer. What's the single biggest technical hurdle telcos face in making LLMs and GPU heavy AI sustainable at scale? Ravi, this one's for you.
I don't think that only LLM heavy systems will really sustain for telco. The reason behind that is the cost is the biggest factor for us. A limited resource at a telco edge and other limitations. I still feel that we need to have agentic communication based infrastructure built with 80-90% SLM, 20% LLMs. And LLM's major job is just to do model filtering, initial level of synthetic data or training data for the SLMs for fine tuning with the local vectors. And of course, deployment of MCP gateways or model context protocol gateways at a big scale will also be one of the major challenges. But then again, on the top of it, power consumption and the cost of HPC at the edge is going to be one of the biggest. But I still feel that semantic communications and the whole approach of semantic is also going to solve a lot of our issues in coming 3 to 4 years down the line, especially in this fast-going world. 3 to 4 years is a huge time, but this whole semantic communication is also a brain change for all the thinkers, how they'll be moving from the traditional AI to semantic AI. That is also going to be a big challenge for all of us, and which time you'll see the solutions coming out of it. Thank you.
So that's wonderful. It's a cost, obviously, making sure that we're also keeping that eye on the ROI. Well, anyways, I want to thank you all for your thoughtful discussion. We didn't get a chance to answer, some of the questions out there, but maybe that leaves room for another time for us. Obviously, AI becoming foundational layer to our networks. So it's clear that we need to architect with intention to balance what the impact is on sustainability, as well as the performance of these networks. To our audience, thank you for joining us. If you'd like to connect with any of the panelists, please reach out after the session. And I want to extend have a great rest of your day or evening. Thank you all.
And thanks for